right, we're going to talk about midpoint and distance in the coordinate plane. So we're going to talk about the midpoint formula, the distance formula, all that good stuff. So the midpoint formula on the number line. So this is only the number line. So the number line, the coordinates of the midpoint is the average or mean of the coordinates of the endpoints. So it's going to be a plus b over 2. So here's our coordinate plane here. So here I have it at -4 and 1. So if I'm going to find that midpoint, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go -4 plus 1 over 2, -3 over 2. You could write that as a decimal or leave it as a fraction. The midpoint formula in the coordinate plane. So the coordinate plane, the coordinates of the midpoint is the average of the x coordinates and the average of the y coordinates. Because remember, what we're going to do is we're going to be looking at the x's kind of as on a number line, the y's on a number line. So it becomes x1, or it becomes x sub 1 plus x sub 2 over 2, and y sub 1 plus y sub 2 over 2. Remember, x sub 1 and x sub 2 are just the x values of the coordinates. So these are coordinates of the points. Okay. So here's our item here, and I'm not sure if this is showing up too well, but there's our two endpoints. So this is going to be -1, 1, and this is going to be 3, 3. And I want to find the midpoint. So to do that, I'm going to take my x coordinates, add them together. So 3 plus -1 over 2, and 3 plus 1 over 2. So 3 plus a -1, that gives me 2 over 2. This gives me 4 over 2. I'm just going to simplify that to be 1, 2. So at 1, 2, there's my midpoint. I'm going to just label it as MP for midpoint, and there's my coordinate of it. Okay, so AB has endpoints of -4 and 9. What is the coordinate of the midpoint? So here we have, second problem. So here we have -4, 9. So in a number line, I'm going to go -4 plus 9 over 2. That gives me 5 over 2, or 2.5. So we're going to do the same thing now with a graph. So now we're going to say that this ends at 4 and this ends at 5 here. So I have -5 plus 4 over 2, which is -1/2. So right here is my endpoint. Okay. And now we have two coordinates. So if EF has endpoints, E is 7, 5, and F is 2, -4. What are the coordinates of the endpoint of M? So M equals, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my x's together, 7 plus 2 over 2, comma, 5 plus -4 over 2. 7 plus 2 is 9 over 2. 5 plus a -4 is 1 over 2. I'm personally going to leave them in fraction form. You can put those in decimal form if you want. Okay. The last one is, here we have two coordinates. So we're going to say it's here and here, just to make it easier. So this is 1, 1, and this is 5, 4. We're going to do the exact same process here to find that midpoint. So midpoint is going to be 5 plus 1 over 2. And then 4 plus 1 over 2. So this gives me 6 over 2. This gives me 5 over 2. Or I have a coordinate of 3, 5/2. And so my would be right in here. All right, so that's finding that midpoint. Okay, so we're going to find an endpoint given that I already have a midpoint. So this is kind of an extension of that. So if I have the midpoint of this, here's my midpoint is -2, 1, and I have an endpoint of 5, 7, I can find the coordinates of D. Okay? So remember that M time is x1 plus x2 over 2 and y1 plus y2 over 2. So I can take this and I can label these out. So if I'm using my x coordinate, I'm going to go negative 2 equals negative 5 plus x sub 2 over 2. And for my y coordinate, I'm going to go 7 equals, not 7, 1 equals 7 plus y sub 2 over 2. And I'm going to solve each of these equations separately. So the first thing I need to solve for x here. So I'm going to take this 2 and I'm going to multiply it to the other side. Negative 4 equals negative 5 plus x sub 2. I'm then going to add my 5 over, add my 5, 1 equals x sub 2. There's my first part of my coordinate. Over here, I'm going to multiply by 2. 2 equals 7 plus y sub 2. I'm going to subtract 7 off. Negative 5 equals y sub 2. There's my y coordinate. So D is equal to 1, negative 5. So there's my coordinate. Now, some of you are going to look at that visually and find another way to get to it. That is perfectly fine, okay? There is another way to do this, kind of mental math. You can kind of go, okay, 5 to negative 2. To get from 5 to negative 2, I added 3. So I'm going to add another 3 to negative 2 to get to my other side. That's how I get my 1. From 7 to 1, I had to subtract 6. So to get from my midpoint to my other coordinate, I have to subtract 6 again. That gets my negative 5. So there's lots of ways to do math problems. Let's go to the next one. So now we're going to talk about the distance formula. So the distance between 2 points, A and B, where A is x1, y1, and B is x2, y2, is the formula. D equals the square root of the quantity x sub 1 minus x sub 2, quantity squared, plus y sub 1 minus y sub 2, quantity squared. So it's going to be the square root of the sum of those. So we want to find the distance between U, which is negative 7.5, and V, 4, negative 3. We want to round to the nearest tenth, okay? So that means we're going to need to have that calculator to do that square root with, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go D equals the square root. Here's my formula. It doesn't matter which one I pick as x1, y1. And the good thing is that if you accidentally mess up your order and you pick this as x1 and then you pick this one as y1, the good thing about the distance formula is it's still going to work. It's about one of the only formulas where if you mess up order, it works. So I'm going to go negative 7 minus 4 quantity squared plus 5 minus negative 3 quantity squared. So negative 7 minus 4 gives me negative 11 squared plus 8 squared. Negative 11 squared is 121. 8 squared is 64. So this gives me the square root of 185. Now, it doesn't say to leave it as an exact. It says round to the nearest 10. So you're going to need to take your calculator and plug this in unless you're really, really good at square roots. So this is going to give me 13.6 is the distance between negative 7.5 and 4, negative 3. So we're going to round that to that nearest tenth. All right, and that's midpoint and distance formula. So how do you get an alien baby to sleep? You rock it. And where does a penguin keep his money? in a snowbank. So that's midpoint and distance formula.